Good morning. Last year, I opened my remarks by quoting Rabbi Siegel, when on Friday nights he would welcome everyone by saying, Bruchim habayim, we bid you welcome. Well, this year, as I look out from the bima and I see people sitting from the front row here in Barg all the way back to Pulaski Rouch, 3 words come to mind. We are back. Two years ago, we only had enough for a million here for high holidays, and last year we had maybe 500 or 600. But this year, we are close to having pre-pandemic numbers, and it is great to see all of you here back in your spiritual home. I would also like to welcome all of you who are watching these services on one of our live stream platforms. A special thank you to Nancy and Arthur Brand for always making this possible. For those of you who haven't been here lately, there have been several changes made over the past year. We finally finished installing the brand new air conditioning system, so I hope everyone here is comfortable. For our office staff, it was a tough summer having to deal with temporary air conditioning, but for the long run, it was something we had to do. I would like to thank everyone who had to endure the very hot summer, and I would especially like to thank Paul Metter, who is the head of our building committee, and Tommy Usick from Mission Constructors, who oversaw this project. I can't say enough great things about the work that our executive director, Andy Berger, has done and continues to do. Andy, you and your entire staff make all of us look good, and the operations of this synagogue would not run as smoothly without you. Another obvious change is one that's pretty easy to notice. The partition wall between the Barg Sanctuary and the Pulaski Rouch, well, it's gone. Now, this is only temporary, as the new partition will be installed after the high holidays. Our 60-year-old partition finally gave out and needed to be replaced. Thank you so much to the Liebman family for underwriting the cost of our beautiful sanctuary entrance. We are also excited to have a brand new accompanist in Julie Sachs. She is an extremely talented pianist, and we are extremely lucky to have added her to our team. It is with extreme gratitude to Michael and Julie Kaplan and their family for donating a beautiful new piano that we are using every week for Shabbat services. This was a gift to the synagogue made in memory of Myra Kaplan, who loved music and is someone we all miss. And let's see, I think we had one more very important change, and that is the hiring of our new cantor, Rachel Goldman. Cantor Goldman came to us from Congregation Ner Tamid in Los Angeles, and we are so very fortunate to have her as our new chazanit. I would like to thank Arthur Nathan, who co-chaired the search committee, as well as all of the members of that very important committee that helped bring Cantor Goldman to Houston. So between our new accompanist, Julie Sachs, and our new cantor, Rachel Goldman, we here at Beth Yeshurun are lucky to have our own, I gotta say it, Goldman Sachs team. So outside of some of those minor changes, this past year at Beth Yeshurun was pretty much back to normal. We did have some mask on, mask off, mask optional issues that we dealt with, but our excellent programs and services continued. Our Greenfield Chapel continues to have their morning and evening minions. The Yes Group also resumed their programs, and the 100 Jewish Men had some great speakers as well. The Sisterhood, led once again by Vicki Richker and Barbara Kozloff, also had their annual Torah Fund program, which honored Marcia Abramson and Vicki Richker. They also resumed their challah bakes, their honeyless honey cake bake in conjunction with Jewish Family Service and the Celebration Company, as well as continuing to run our gift shop. Rabbi Sarah Fort also had some fun events with our young adults and professionals. Our programming director, Jennifer Rosenzweig, was also busy planning some great events such as the incredible Hanukkah Light Up the Sky fireworks show. I'm not sure how she pulled that one off, but it was a great event. Our Purim Carnival was back, and just as great as ever with rides for the kids and, of course, Gary Schwartz and his team of kosher cookers providing us with hamburgers and hot dogs. Our religious school, led by Cheryl Eskowitz, and our day school, headed up by Jennifer Levine, had almost near record enrollments. But what made all of this special was the fact that so many of you were there. Beth Yeshurun is the religious cornerstone of our community, and it only survives because of your support and not just financially, but physically and spiritually as well. Your support just by being here means so much to the people that run this place. In terms of what to expect this year, there are already several events on the calendar. On October 23rd, we are finally planning the celebration of our building becoming a historical landmark. We owe a great deal of gratitude to Glenn Rosenbaum for his extraordinary efforts in making this a reality. Also, the return of the Lou Dorfman Yiddish Cup Golf Tournament will be held on October 31st, and just a few days later, on November 3rd, we will have an incredible installation concert for Cantor Goldman. Rumor has it there will be no shortage of world-class cantors coming to Beth Yeshurun to celebrate this honor for our new cantor. Next March, the singing trio that our Cantor Goldman co-founded, the Schul Sisters, will be performing live here in our sanctuary. And for those of you that like to play pickleball, thanks to the efforts of Melanie Weiser and Andrea Stein, our gymnasium now has 2 indoor pickleball courts. So now I'd like to share with you a true story. It was Slichot 2010, and we had just finished up another beautiful service leading up to the high holidays. As I was leaving the synagogue, my dear friend Judy Yambra came running up to me, and she said, "David, Ronnie and I are chairing a new project for the synagogue, and in conjunction with this year's theme of renewing the promise, we are scribing a new Torah for Congregation Beth Yeshurun. We would love for you and Andrea to be our co-chairs." I immediately agreed. From this, I learned 3 very important lessons. Number 1, you can never say no to Judy Yambra. Number 2, don't ever volunteer your wife for anything without asking her first. Andrea will still tell you that to this day, that was the hardest project she's ever worked on. And number 3, being involved with it was one of the most rewarding things I have ever done. So the first 2 are pretty self-explanatory, so I want to focus on number 3. I had been on the board for several years, but never really in a leadership role. Working on the Torah project really engaged me with all levels of synagogue leaders, staff, and congregants. For those of you that participated, I hope you found it meaningful, and you can still see your pictures outside on the beautiful glass sculpture between the Barg Sanctuary and the Pulaski Rauch Auditorium. Thank you to Sharon and Richard Kammerman for bringing this incredible display back to life. So why am I telling you this story? It's because, like many of you, I would come to synagogue several times a year, the high holidays, maybe a bar mitzvah or 2, and I wasn't very involved in many programs or projects, and I just took for granted that Beth Yeshurun was always going to be here. The Torah project completely changed my perception of how a synagogue works behind the scenes. There is so much that goes on here that only a few people experience. The number of meetings, phone calls, emails that it takes to run this place is truly amazing. Our clergy and staff work 24/7 to make sure Congregation Beth Yeshurun is there for all of us. It is truly difficult for me to comprehend just how time flies and that this will be the last high holiday that I address the synagogue as your president. I never knew that involving myself in a Torah project would one day lead me to becoming your 40th president. I mentioned earlier that it has been great to see many of you back here, but as we begin this new year, I would like for each of you to make a Jewish New Year's resolution, and that is to become more involved in your synagogue. No, I'm not asking you to chair a project or serve on the board or even a committee, but you can show your support by just coming here for a Shabbat service, or come hear one of our speakers that we have throughout the year. There are plenty of educational programs you can attend. You can also volunteer for one of our many social action projects. All of you should be receiving the weekly happenings email, which is a snapshot of all of the week's events. There is no shortage of programs and events that our synagogue offers. All you need to do is take advantage of them. In closing, when you get in your car after services, I want you to look straight ahead, and you will notice that the biggest thing you see is your windshield. So why do you think it is so big? It's so that you can always see what is in front of you. As I look through the windshield of Congregation Beth Yeshurun, I see an incredibly bright future. we have a dynamic young clergy led by our senior rabbi, Brian Strauss, and our associate rabbis, Steve Morgan and Sarah Fort. Our new cantor, Rachel Goldman, brings a level of enthusiasm and energy like we've never seen before, and not to mention an incredible voice as well. We are also very fortunate to have two extremely well-respected and loved Rabbi Emeriti and Rabbi David Rosen and Rabbi Jack Siegel. I know that our clergy and staff would love to see you and meet you. I promise you, you won't regret it. Together, we are better, and together, we are stronger. As someone once told me, the best is yet to come. On behalf of the Executive Committee, the Board of Trustees, my wife Andrea, my children Julie and Jonathan, Shana Tova Tikatevu. May this coming year be one of good health and happiness for all of you and your families. Thank you.